I don't think most people understand what they're actually looking at. And I'm going to show you right here. This is in Spain, what is happening right now. You can just see it's mad chaos that people are just storming the beaches. There's an invasion happening. Today, thousands of people crossed into Spain's North African enclave of Ceuta, overwhelming local authorities and prompting Spain to deploy military support. What's fascinating isn't just the footage itself, it's the timing. Only days after Elon Musk argued that Europe is failing to confront the long-term consequences of illegal immigration, one of the biggest border events in recent years is now dominating headlines. So, was this simply an extraordinary one-day event, or does it reveal something bigger about the direction Europe is heading? As we can see, that is mad chaos that is happening. If you're on X, this is all that is on there. Everybody is posting about this. I really honestly do not care, but it does, if you look at it, it can cause you a little bit of concern, what if that happened here? What if that happened in America? First of all, we're going to start it off with analyzing. This is from the Associated Press. You can see here, this is actual footage of the breakthrough that's happening. Absolute chaos. And you do not see, I guess I heard some kids, but I don't see any kids or women, and everybody's pointing that out. It kind of makes sense, though. I think if I wouldn't send my family to go break through the gate, I think I would go first, try settle in and make sure everything's okay, send for my family. That's probably more what's going on. I know these are kind of like military-age men that could fight or whatever. I think they're probably just wanting to get to a safer, better way of life. So there you can see at Ceuta, it's not in the main part of Spain. It's just this enclave tied to Morocco, like physically connected with the African country of Morocco. So it's, when you first see it, you're like thinking, oh my gosh, they're just storming in there. They're really, it'd be like almost like breaking through like the Keys, the Florida Keys. It's still American territory, but it's not like you're going through into Washington, D.C. or anything like that. But this is from the Associated Press. Ceuta, Spain. Spain will deploy its military to restore order at its border with Morocco and Ceuta after thousands of migrants streamed into the tiny Spanish territory, with at least 9 dying in the attempt. The announcement comes after local authorities in Ceuta had asked the central government in Madrid for reinforcements to manage a border crisis that had been building up before boiling over on Thursday with large crowds of people breaching the border fence. Spain's government said Thursday evening it would send the armed forces to help the civil guard maintain security in the city of Ceuta. And this is the situation is absolute chaos. Rachid Sabi, head of the association that represents Spain's civil guard officers who police the border in Ceuta, told the Associated Press. It's not possible to give precise numbers, but there are thousands of migrants crossing, he said, adding that the border had totally collapsed. That's a big deal, I would say. I would say that's certainly a big deal what's happening over there. This is a tough thing for anybody because we are always in this state of mental limbo, this battle, open borders all around, everybody come in, let's be kumbaya and just live together and have peace and harmony. Or let's have maybe the way of life of secure borders. Every nation do your own thing. Take care of your own resources. It's I think there is no going back. With what Donald Trump did in breaching into Venezuela, threatening Greenland, saying things about Canada. Now we're in war with Iran. There is so much instability in this world. It's I've never felt this way before, and I don't know if you have before either. Just this uncertainty. What's happening next? When's the next shoe going to drop? With the on the horizon, AI is about to take over, or it's this. It could go into a golden age, or it could be Armageddon. And just seeing what's happening in Spain, it is I really don't care because it's across the ocean. I really don't that's their thing. But usually, a lot of times, what's happening in Europe, it filters down to our way of life. And it's almost it's an experiment over there of if you just flaunt amnesty and you flaunt a better way of life and we'll take care of you, massive social welfare state, people are going to flock there. People are going to want to be there and escape the horrors of where they're at. Because a lot of this world is horrors. A lot of horrors all around. And I think that is why people want to get away from the third world. They want to come to where they can have jobs, they can have the food, water, resources, a better way of life. And that's why people are always just trying to bust through. And I just think that this is something that America should take notice of. Seriously, take notice of. Do we want to be that? Or do we I'm just so tired of just this exhaustion of, why can't we go one way or the other? I want just full-fledged, just open borders, or let's just have lockdown and a better way of life. White picket fences, the American dream. But it's like when you offer liberalism to everyone and you just say everybody, freedom and all that, it's good and all, but it's like there's the pendulum always swings the other way, and it's like, it can drive you insane. If you're locked into the news, it can drive you insane. Maybe you're clocked out. Maybe you're just watching other stuff. You're on Instagram, you're on TikTok, and you're just checked out. I think a lot of people are mentally checked out because nothing causes us surprise. Nothing shocks us anymore. You're scrolling through X, you can see somebody get their head blown off, and then in the next step, there's puppies. The next page, it's like we go from extreme to the other. We are battle ready. I think everybody at this point is battle ready, and I think I am just tired of being in this limbo. I see. Oh my gosh, it's chaos. The world's gonna explode. We're going into Armageddon. Everything's terrible. They're gonna take over, and then nothing happens. It's just this build up to nothing happen. And I think that the war in Iran has just epitomized that. That every week Donald Trump is saying, I'm going to unleash hell, and you're going to wish you never defied the United States, and then nothing happens. And now Iran is bringing the fight to us. What I see is, and I thought it was very almost Nostradamus-like that Elon Musk last week was on the Economist and did the podcast. And he just raised these things, and he was just put on the hot seat. And he doesn't care about no hot seat, but he was just they were making him feel like, oh, he's the most terrible person in the world because he's calling these things out of just Western culture just disintegrating. And say, you can't, how can you say something like this, Elon? You're the richest man in the world. How come you have influence in our way of life over in Europe? We got a good thing going. We're better than the United States. We can do our own thing. And he just unleashed back in his own fashion. We're going to take a look at this. I thought it was really interesting. This was probably the most heated moment in it. And that this lady was saying that you are hated. I cannot believe you do not understand this, but you are hated. And he turned it right back on her.
Maybe some people do loathe me. And that's probably true. I don't care. But the fact that, as you pointed out, 250 million people follow me is that I think a lot more people actually like me than don't. And I think a lot more people hate you and the media more than you realize. Do you realize the media is despised? Do you realize that journalists, the view of journalists is like, it's like a favorable view of journalists is 15%.
I do know that. In the United States.
So the shoe is on the other foot. They hate you. They hate you far more than they hate me.
I think there is certainly a loss of trust in journalism. I think in part, there have been mistakes by journalists and journalism. I totally acknowledge that. But I also think that the kind of polarized environment, particularly on social media, fostered by the kinds of things you are pushing on X, actually helps this, makes it worse.
And Elon, he's got some fire in him. I don't know what you all think about Elon Musk. I like him. I like him a lot. He doesn't do everything perfect. He got into almost the Donald Trump territory, whether he was the name that people absolutely look one way or the other at you, depending on what you think of Elon Musk, because he got very political, got into Doge and the government. And I think he has vocalized that he's regretted a lot of the things he did because it's really pointless. It's absolutely pointless. The government spending, cutting that, eliminating programs does nothing. It's nothing. And he realizes that we are on a cliff. And the best thing that we can do as the United States is invest into our military by far. by far. Like, there's no question. Like, because we're not going to reduce the deficit. We're not going to hack away at it. The only thing that could save us in that way is AI. And Elon is adamant about that. And I think he has the best like forecast of what the future is, that we can't bail our way out of this. And the government can't just print our way out of this and make more and more money or whatever, fake money, Wizard of Oz money. But I think the smartest thing we could do is have a strong military and have protection. And because if we want to not become like these European states that are being overrun by migrants, and just have open borders and I know they don't have necessarily open borders, but they are more massively welfare oriented than even us. There are things that I admire about the way that like Canada does things and those European nations. I do like that if I think people should have access to a lot of things that they don't, that it should be just a given to them. But you can't flaunt it, and you can't be not willing to like protect your nation. And I think that is the problem. I think that American citizens should be treated as royalty, as gold, and protected and given all the benefits better than anyone else in this world because we have those resources. It's not to say that American citizens are, ontologically better at all. Everybody is of equal standing in the world, but it's like you benefit from the nation that you're born into. And American citizens are born into a massively wealthy nation, but we kind of like give it up a lot of times. We waste it on things that aren't helping the actual regular people. And I think that's the issue I have. So I don't know what Elon thinks about all that. If you I think healthcare, we should have it. Everyone should have access. It is this balancing act between, just socialized medicine and just giving everybody all these things, and then removing innovation and having the best, best doctors, the best people that can do these things that the other nations might not have the incentive to do. So I know there's this balancing act, but Elon he at least gets this, that he's calling it out what's happening over there. And I totally agree with him saying about Europe, because what he's talking about, if we just kind of just peel back the onion, it's migrants, but it's primarily migrants that are Islamic, that that have that faith, that come from that culture. It's not to say that these are bad people, but they have a very bad ideology, and an ideology that is different than any other. It's different than Mormonism. It's different than Jehovah's Witness. It's different than Buddhists or whatever. Islamic people, it's not that they're bad, but their ideology, it will threaten the West. It will threaten the West if we allow it. And if you're familiar with this man named Sneeko that is out there, he is a person that is epitomizing what America is and the future of America, because he's calling for this massive caliphate over America to just take over the West. Because he's like, inshallah, it's happening over in Spain. Inshallah, it happens here. That means God willing, that they want it. That's what they want. And I obviously, as a Christian, I want everywhere to be Christian, but this world is not our home. This world, God's kingdom, God's real kingdom, and God's real kingdom is not in Islam, but God's real kingdom of Jesus Christ, it can only be taken by persuading hearts, persuading minds, loving people. It cannot be carried on by the sword, by armies, physical armies here on earth. Jesus said his kingdom is not of this world. So that is something that we don't really got going for us, that Islam will have going for them, that they are able to carry it on with the sword, and they will. They seep into any culture. That's why they've massively taken over like the Middle East, the Northern Africa, Morocco. And I'm actually want to just show this right here. This is from Wikipedia, and Wikipedia is like one of the best sources out there. But okay, look at this. Religion in Morocco, look at that. 99.5% Islam, and then there's 0.2% no religion and 0.1% Christian. But right there, that is almost completely green. 99.5% Islam. And I've been in heavily populated Islamic cultures. The most hospitable people out there, just the regular people out there, they want to take care of you, and they're concerned about good deeds and doing great things. But it's the radical jihadists that will take over, that will make them It seeps into every culture. It bubbles up, and eventually it will take over everything. Like we see the fullness of it happening in the Middle East. The only anomaly is Israel, that is not under the caliphate of Islam, but it just little by little, step by step, takes in over, like is happening in the West in their way of life. They do not assimilate. They will not assimilate. And they're standing for their religion. And eventually what happens is you either become that religion, you become Muslim, you pay a certain tax, or they kill you. And that's what eventually it goes to. And I think people in the West need to be educated about this. You think that Christianity is hardcore, that we don't want certain people to practice certain things? I think the West has demonstrated that Christianity is open to people practicing whatever you want. We want you to believe in Jesus, but it's your freedom and right not to. We're not going to behead you if you don't. And I think certain other cultures, and if you take the inference of who would behead you, other religions go to that extreme. They will go to that extreme. And I think it's just being very careful with it's not to say that they all do that, but that is the extreme nature of it. And I think that people in the West need to be ready for that it's taken over Europe, and Elon Musk called it out, and it's little by little taken baby steps into America. And I know it's not just this boy who cried wolf, and being scared, but it's having an awareness that it's there. If you want to preserve our way of life, we need to stand for it, vocalize it, fight for it, not like disparage people, but to be aware of it and to inform people as much as possible so that they're not caught off guard. This is where it gets into the meat of it, of talking about the no assimilation of what's happening over there and Elon's point of view.
Yeah, let me explain what the fundamental forcing function here is for why the borders are not secure, which is when you have a welfare state that provides substantial benefits to anyone who comes there, you create a very powerful economic forcing function for anyone who is below that standard of living to come to Europe. It is an obvious, powerful driving force. And people will come there if their standard of living is, from what they get in Europe, is above where they are elsewhere in the world. It's very basic.
I completely agree with that.
Yes.
I don't
It's a very basic incentive structure.
Economic conditions, economic influences determine a lot of migration. I think asylum is a separate issue, but I think you're absolutely right. There are pressures for migration. However, there are other things that you haven't focused on, which is.
And I think that's the biggest issue. It is that flaunting. You're showing the goods that you have over in Europe, and people that don't have that best way of life are going to eventually come through there. And we're seeing that on a big stage right now. I know it's just social media makes it like it's a fire, like it's a huge fire that's happening. It is a really small portion of Spain, and it's not even like in the mainland of Spain, but it's sending a message that it's not that they're just coming over as little migrants and seeking asylum, asking for a better way of life, but they're storming the capital. Figuratively, they're storming in, breaking through the gates, and trying to set up a moat so that they can get across, so that they can send back to their family and settle in. That's what's going on. And I think, as Christians, yes, we want the best for everybody, but we got to understand that when does it become a time that you should stand up and fight? And I really have to analyze this from perspective. When I look at the New Testament, when I look at the Bible, we don't really have this playbook given to us. We don't have the apostles living in this way of life. They are the dregs of society. They are in the lowest parts of society. They haven't reached to a point where they have massive influence, and their ideology, their ideas have spread so that it has created this. We're at the tree is fully formed, and we've seen what comes out of the best of Christianity and Western way of life, and we see what comes out of Islam. Which, there can be good things that come out of Islam, but from that culture, Islam itself, I think, it is a satanic religion. It is that. It's misleading people. It's not recognizing the lordship of Christ. And I think that if we don't recognize this, from the apostles' point of view, we're just bringing it to that. Like, they didn't have that, so I really have to analyze. What would they do in this situation? Because we're told not to those who fight with the sword will die by the sword. And I think that as regular people, as regular Christians, or whatever, if you just want to live in this Western way of life and you think it's good, maybe you shouldn't go out like as a vigilante and take over and fight back and do all that, But there is a sense where governments are put in place, and we have influenced our government, that we want them to execute as best as possible good morals, good values that come from a Christian nature, that come from a Christian worldview. And I think that is what we have in America. That's what we are built on. So there is a point that we need to call it out as regular people and push our elected leaders and even our military in a sense that we are going to defend the homeland. We are going to stand up for what is right, put people in a better position, because over there, if we just sit back like the Amish or whatever and just let things just take us over, and we're not going to step in and do it, we're not going to have our hand in it because we think our hand's going to get dirty by doing that. Ultimately, you're going to have Islam taking over, and millions and more of Muslim children being born and raised and educated in that way of life. And I think we should, you shouldn't be afraid, but it's not about, with Islam, they're not just educating, like, I'll show you a little bit of Christianity, I'll show you a little bit of this religion or this philosophy, but they indoctrinate. You cannot leave their religion. They will harm you if you try to leave their religion. If you try to go to a different way of life, I don't want to follow your God anymore, Dad, or whatever, or I want to do my own thing. There is none of that. And I hope we, as like in our Western culture, our Western mindset, understand that. We should, not as regular people, fight, do our fighting at pushing the mindset, the ideology of our government in a way that's going to stand and defend our culture and defend Western civilization, because we can see it will flounder. If we allow this liberal ideology to just infiltrate and just permeate everything of the mindset of our government, this is what will happen. And that's why I'm so tired of let's either go underground as the church, and we have to just, spread our way of life, there either be lockdown or let open society, or if we're really going to do this game where we want to take care of our civilization, let's do it. I'm just tired of this limbo state that we find ourselves in. It's like, and then oh my gosh, the world's caving in, it's cratering, it's terrible. But then, nothing happens, or what? I think it's just, if we're gonna be here and fight, let's fight. Let's fight for what's good and right. Let's defend our values as Christianity. Otherwise, just sit back and let's just go live on the outskirts of the in the woods or whatever, and raise our children, not have anything to do with society. All right, we'll leave it at that. I hope you all have a wonderful day. Let me know what you think about all this and what the invasion happening over in Spain, if that concerns you or not, if you are over here in America. All right, we'll leave it at that. Have a good day. See y'all.